Okay, so we're continuing with the chapter 18. Are there any questions from last week that you want to ask before I start? Okay, everybody's so knowledgeable. It's good to see. And so we had done up to point 9, so point 8 basically. We're going to start with number 9. Does everyone have it in front of you?
Yep.
There's attraction for living in a place where Krishna has his pastimes.
Yep.
Who'd like to read?
Prabhuji, we are reading from eagerness for achieving the desired success. The last time when we left at the previous topic, which was great hope.
So that's number 8, right? Let me just check again. No, number 8 was eagerness to describe lost like qualities. Great hope. What number is that?
There's no number. So we read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 we read. This is
Yeah,
number 6.
I see great hope now. So you don't think we did next one, which is
Eagerness for achieving the desired success.
You don't think we did that?
No, we finished our class on the last words were hope against the hope.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right. So let's start with number 6 then. I mean, I got numbers here.
Which page, which paragraph is?
It's called eagerness.
138.
Which one?
138, page number 138. We're starting from the beginning of that page.
Okay. Eagerness for achieving.
Ji.
That's right. That's right. Okay, let's start with that then. Who wants to start? Boy, everybody.
I can read, Prabhuji.
Okay, Mataji, go ahead, please.
Eagerness for achieving the desired success. When one is sufficiently eager
Could
to
you please tell me, Prabhuji, again where we are?
Page 138, Prabhuji. On the top, it says
Page 138, okay.
the eagerness for achieving the desired success.
Okay, I got it, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Okay. Everybody else has it? Okay, all right. Please start.
Okay. Eagerness for achieving the desired success. When one is sufficiently eager to achieve success in devotional service, the eagerness is called what is that? Samukantha. This means complete eagerness. Actually, this eagerness is the price for achieving success in Krishna consciousness. Everything has some value, and one has to pay the value before obtaining or possessing it. It is stated in the Vedic literature that to purchase the most valuable thing, Krishna consciousness, one has to develop intense eagerness for achieving success. This intense eagerness is very nicely expressed in Bilva Mangala Thakur in the book Krishna Karnashmrat. He says, I am eagerly waiting to see that boy of Vrindavan whose bodily beauty is captivating the whole universe, whose eyes are always bounded by black eyebrows and expanded like lotus petals, and who is always eagerly glancing over over his devotees and therefore moving slightly here and there. His eyes are always moved. His lips are colored like copper, and through those lips there comes a sound vibration which drives one madder than a mad elephant. I want so much to see him at Vrindavan.
Thank you, Mataji. Okay, so the characteristic that we're talking about of someone at Bhava platform or on Bhava platform is the extreme eagerness. And the Sanskrit word given here in this paragraph is samutkantha. So I just want to talk a little bit about that word itself. It's actually 3 words combined in one. It's sam, ut, and kantha. So sam is short for samyak. Does anybody know what the word samyak means?
No,
It's-
Prabhuji, I don't know.
It's used in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text 30. So samyak means completely. Similarly, the word sankirtan is samyak kirtan, which means complete. In every way complete. So samyak, ut means, does anybody know what ut means? Above.
Above.
And kantha, everybody should know kantha, the
Throat.
throat. So it means something that's completely in every way going over your kantha, throat. तो जब खाना खाते हैं गले के ऊपर तक भर गया, that same thing. जब eagerness गले के ऊपर तक भर जाए, that's samut kantha. That means extreme amount of eagerness. That means really, really, really eager to do this, can't think of anything, cannot take another drop of anything else. So that kind of eagerness is talked about. Another word that's used for samut kantha is laulyam, which actually means greediness. Was same idea. And basically, I forget where I read this, but somewhere it says that janma koti sukrate na labhyate. If we have sukrati, the pious credits, from billions of lifetimes, still this perfection in devotional service will not be obtained until we develop this eagerness. That's how important this eagerness is. And here again, the second line of the paragraph says, this means complete eagerness. And that's what we talk about. There's not a drop of room left for anything else. That's how much eagerness there is there. And that is the price for perfection in Krishna consciousness. So this is why our spiritual masters, our scriptures are always saying, Utsahat Nishat, have the enthusiasm, be eager to serve, don't find excuses to not serve. The spiritual master says, do this, you say, yeah, sure, and you give it to somebody else, or you just disappear, never come back. Or your management says, do this service, no, I don't want to do this service because I like this service. Or what do you mean? I'm Pujari, why are you asking me to do book distribution? Things like that. It's absolute, complete eagerness to serve Krishna is the price we have to pay to achieve success in devotional service. So that's one point being made. It says also that it's the most valuable thing, because you want to purchase what's most valuable. What is the most valuable thing anywhere? Anybody? What is the most valuable thing anywhere?
What do you mean, Prabhu? Sorry.
What is the most valuable thing anywhere? Spiritually, materially, this world, that world, this country, that country, anywhere. What is the most valuable thing?
Lord Krishna's name.
Sorry?
Lord Krishna's name.
Close, not quite, not close. Something even more valuable than that.
Air, water.
Huh?
Air,
Devotion.
Sorry, Madhumati, I couldn't hear what you said.
air, water, light, everything.
No,
That
no,
is
no,
valuable.
no. Something more.
Life.
Shri Krishna service.
Okay, close, yeah. Love for Krishna.
Love for Krishna.
That is the most valuable thing anywhere, anytime. And so if you want to buy the most valuable thing, you got to pay the most valuable price. And that is extreme eagerness, samutkantha. Okay. Now, then says, the paragraph says, this intense eagerness is very nicely expressed by Bilva Mangal Thakur. And you read the whole paragraph. So he wants to see Krishna. Now, does everyone know Bilva Mangal Thakur had a handicap? What was Bilva Mangal Thakur's handicap?
Yes, he was blind.
Correct. He was blind. So he was walking around in Vrindavan wanting to see Krishna. Blind man wanting to see Krishna. He's shouting, he's crying Krishna's name. He's describing what Krishna looks like. Never having seen him before. right? This whole paragraph describes what Krishna looks like. And he says, I want so much to see him in Vrindavan. And Krishna shows up. Krishna says, Baba, you're looking for me. He knows. He knows this has to be Krishna. So he grabs his hand and they start walking together. They're talking and Krishna's describing the different scenes in Vrindavan. They're going on and on. After a few hours, Krishna says, Baba, I have to go home. My mother is waiting for me. And Vilumangal Thakur grabs the hand even more tightly and says, no, I will not let you go. And Krishna says, Baba, I have to go. I have to go. My mom is waiting. And he says, no, I won't let you go. So forcibly, Krishna releases his hand and runs away. And when he runs away, Vilumangal Thakur sings 2 lines of bhajan. Vilumangal Thakur says, हाथ छुड़ाए जात हो निर्बल जान के मोह हृदय से जब जाओगे सबल जानी हो तो. He says, you're releasing your hand because you think I'm weak. But here's a challenge for you, Krishna. Get out of my heart. Then I'll know you're really strong. Krishna comes back and says, no, Baba, I'm not that strong. And holds his hand again and they walk. That's the kind of eagerness Vilumangal Thakur is talking about. And that's the kind of eagerness we need to have in our heart to get that love of Krishna. Any questions or comments? Okay, then we move on to the next one. Who would like to read the next paragraph?
I can read, Prabhuji.
Please go ahead.
Attachment to chanting the holy name of the Lord. In the same Krishna Karn Amrita, there is another statement about the chanting of Radha Rani. It is said by one of the associates of Radha Rani, O Lord Govinda, the girl who is the daughter of King Brishbhanu is now shedding tears, and she is anxiously chanting your holy name, Krishna, Krishna.
Yeah. We can only imagine the quality of Radharani's chanting Krishna's name. You know, all the 8 ecstatic symptoms would be appearing. Nanam Galad Ashudharya, Badnam Gadgad Rudhya Gira, all those kind of things must be happening. Pulka Nista Vapukada, right? Hair standing on end, all those things must be happening. And it's being said, but it's not just the quality of singing, but the attachment to singing the holy name. Like compare with ourselves, a lot of times, actually, I can speak for me, a lot of times when I chant, after maybe 12 rounds, I start looking at my counting beats. How many more left? Oh, 4, okay. So you do one more. Oh, now only 3 left. Okay, now only 2 left. And even in the same round, you start saying, okay, almost there now, almost there, almost there. And as you know, in the chanting beats, after 8 beats, there's a string. And see that string, feel that string, say, okay, only 8 more to go in the round. I mean, so clearly there's no attachment in my heart. I'm doing this because I'm supposed to do this, because it's good for me, because what special master has asked me, because I made a commitment in front of Radha Chicho Gopinath that I will chant 16 rounds, on and on and on. But the point is, it's not attachment. Whereas Radharani's attachment is something unbelievable. Similarly, Namacharya Haridas Thakur, how many hours a day did he chant? Anybody knows?
22 hours.
Yeah, 22 hours.
Yeah.
22 hours a day he chanted. And imagine chanting the holy name with full attraction when there's a very beautiful girl sitting in front of you wanting to offer herself to you. That's the attachment that that's being talked about here. Lord Chaitanya himself, like he would cry, he'll fall down, who chanted Krishna's name. Then Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. Does anybody know what vow he had taken before he took sannyas to chant the holy names? Does anybody know?
1 million chant, 1 million rounds.
Well, actually, it's
10
1
years
billion.
it took him.
1 billion.
Billion, okay.
1 billion. Right? So he also chanted 22 rounds a day for 10 years. 10 years, 22 hours a day, every day he chanted. Now, can you do that without attachment? Chanting the holy name? I mean, every once in a while we do the 64 rounds, and that's like, oh my God, we cannot do more than once or twice a year. But 192 rounds, 22 hours a day, every day for 10 years. And that was his vow before he said, I'll take sannyas. I think somebody told us you have to do that, we'll take sannyas anyway. But sannyas from the person who's giving the instruction to chant like that. Right? So, I mean, just shows how high a level of these people was. Okay, any questions? Okay, let's do number 8 then.
I lead Prabhuji.
Please go ahead.
Eagerness to describe the Lord's transcendental qualities. Attachment for chanting the glories of the Lord is also expressed in the Krishna Karna Amrita as follows. What shall I do for Krishna, who is pleasing beyond all pleasurable conceptions, and who is naughtier than all restless boys? The idea of Krishna's beautiful activities is attracting my heart, and I do not know what I can do.
Yeah. Can you imagine? Imagine the feeling in the heart of Guru Mangal Thakur who can write like this. The idea of Krishna's beautiful activities attracting my heart, and I don't know what I can do. You know, in the mundane world, we sometimes see mothers or grandparents showing the same tendency for their child in a very mundane way, right? They come to the temple or they meet you at a party. All they want to do is show off their granddaughter or grandson, and oh, look how cute he is or she is, and look how beautiful she is. Oh, she can now count up to 9, and on and they go on. A person out in front of them is saying, "Please leave me alone," but they go on and on and on and on for their grandchild. This is Velu Mangal Thakur saying the same thing about Krishna, a world of difference. But the same people could not do this for Krishna. But there are people who have this eagerness to describe Krishna's qualities, to read Krishna's qualities, discuss Krishna's qualities all the time. For example, most of us should know Vaisheshika Prabhu. And those of us who know him well enough know that he's always either reading Srimad Bhagavatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita, or discussing some pastime from that. Even when he's being driven somewhere, when he's having dinner, lunch, whatever, he's always doing that. Raman Rai, with the personality in the Lord Chaitanya Leela. Lord Chaitanya himself, Swarup Damodar, another associate of Lord Chaitanya, they would spend all night, every night discussing Krishna Katha. They'll do whatever they were doing all day. Then at night, they'll sit down, the three of them, and discuss Krishna Katha every night. So that is the eagerness to discuss, to describe, to hear Krishna Katha, the glories of Krishna Katha. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, text 9, Krishna says, Matchitta madgat prana, bodhiyantas parasparam, kathiyantas mam nitya, tushyanti cha ramanti cha. The devotees get nourished, they get satisfaction from constantly discussing Krishna Katha. Their heart, their consciousness, their mind, they're always so fixed on Krishna, they don't want to do anything else. They don't like doing anything else. They don't show any interest in anything else. That's the eagerness that's being talked about. Any questions on that? Okay, then we go to number 9.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I can read.
Oh, please do.
Attraction for living in a place where Krishna has his pastimes. In the book Padyavali by Rupa Goswami, there is the following statement about Vrindavana. In this place, the son of Maharaja Nanda used to live with his father, who was king of all cowherd men. In this place, Lord Krishna broke the cart in which the Sankatasura demon was concealed. At this place, Damodara, who can cut the knot of our material existence, was tied up by his mother Yashoda.
Right. Now, just read this paragraph and admire and appreciate how much the person describing the places of various pastimes is enjoying talking about that. Here is where he was tied. Here is where he killed Shaktasur. Here is where this happened. Here is where that happened. And just describing. I mean, a lot of times people go to see historical places and they say, oh, this is where the emperor slept. This is where he was, having his dinner. And people say, wow, wow, great, great, great. But what nonsense is that? What nonsense is that? That's just do the same thing for Krishna. I really enjoy it. And I don't know how many of you have taken the Brij Parikrama, where all these places you can go and visit and get a sense of this actually happened in this place. I was telling one of the earlier classes that there is a part of the mortar to which Krishna was tied is still there. There was a time when you could go and see and touch it, but now it's in a glass box, but you can at least see it. Similarly, all the other places are pastimes where he stored the clothes of the gopis, where he jumped to the Jamuna river to chastise Kalia. All those places are still there. And it's really quite a feeling to visit those places and kind of visualize, yeah, this is where it must have happened. So that's the attraction for describing the places where Krishna did his pastimes. Next paragraph, please.
A pure devotee of Lord Krishna resides in the district of Mathura or Vrindavana and visits all the places where Krishna's pastimes were performed. At these sacred places, Krishna displayed his childhood activities with the cowherd boys and Mother Yashoda. The system of circumambulating all these places is still current among devotees of the Lord Krishna, and those coming to Mathura and Vrindavana always feel transcendental pleasure. Actually, if someone goes to Vrindavana, he will immediately feel separation from Krishna, who performed such nice activities when he was present there.
Right. Now, there's two things. One thing I want to mention, one of the two things I want to mention first is it's one thing to go there and say, yeah, this is where it happened, and come back. Then you lose 99% of the pleasure. Can you excuse me for 1 second, please? Sorry about that. Okay, so it's one thing to just go and say, okay, I went there, this is where this lila happened, this is where that lila happened. But when you sit down with somebody who knows this place, or sit down with the locals, and they tell you the story of the pastime that happened there, then your pleasure is like a million times more than if you just went and visited the place. Some of the stories, sure, you can read them in the Srimad Bhagavatam, but there's so many other pastimes in other Puranas that most of us don't have access to. But when you talk to these people, you hear these pastimes. And I'm going to share, just came to my mind, so I'm just going to share one pastime, just to give a feel for what I'm talking about. Something like this you will not know, and certainly you will not be able to enjoy if you just went and came back. So the pastime is very simple. Krishna is playing with his friends, and it's lunchtime. So Mother Yashoda calls him, says, come home, have lunch. This was one of those days, I guess, when he did not take lunch with him. And he said, okay, I'm coming. As soon as he said that, his friends said, wait a minute, you can't go. the game is not finished yet. You have to finish the game before you go. So he says, oh, okay, you're right. And he continues to play. After some time, Mother Yashoda comes back and says, Krishna, I called you. So come now. He says, yes, Mother, I'm coming. As soon as he says that, the boys say, we can't go. Game is not finished yet. Krishna says, no, but my mother's calling, I have to go. And they say, okay, you can go, but you cannot play with us again ever. So your choice. Now Krishna standing there. This Supreme Personality of God is standing there saying, what do I do now? मैं इधर जाऊं कि मैं उधर जाऊं? You know, what should I do? Which way should I go? And standing there. And finally, Mother says, now, or I'm going to close the door and you'll have to stay hungry all day. So he looks at the boys and they say, no, you can't go. So still standing there. Finally, Mother Vasudha comes out, grabs him by the hand and takes him home. Very simple pastime. But my point is that you wouldn't know something like this happened here unless somebody tells you. So this is why they say that the purpose of going to a place of pilgrimage is not just to go and see the deities and the place and come back. The purpose is just go and talk to the devotees, get their association, discuss the pastimes that happen in the holy dham, and then you get the real benefit of going to that place. So I just wanted to make that point. And this, otherwise, you know, it's not saying that you just go and visit. More than that. Okay. So a little bit of that comes in the next paragraph. Is it the next paragraph?
Do I continue, Prabhu, or someone else will read it?
If somebody wants to volunteer, that's great. Otherwise, you can continue. I'm not hearing many volunteers today.
Okay, Prabhuji, I'll read.
Okay, go ahead.
Such attraction for remembering Krishna's activities is known as attachment for Krishna. There are impersonalists, philosophers, and mystics who by a show of devotional service want ultimately to merge into the existence of Supreme Lord. They sometimes try to imitate a pure devotee's sentiments for visiting the holy place where Krishna had his pastimes, but they simply have a view for the salvation, and so their activities cannot be considered attachment.
Right. So simple point. If your goal is to merge in the Brahman effulgence, it doesn't matter what you do, even if you're doing everything that other devotees do, it's not attachment to Krishna. Because you're constantly thinking about yourself, that you'll get the liberation, you'll merge in the Brahman effulgence. That is not devotion, and that is not attachment. It's simple. Okay. Next paragraph, please. Somebody? Is everyone tired today? I'm not getting many volunteers.
Can I read it, Prabhuji?
Sure, you can.
Read it. Prabhu.
Go ahead, please.
It is said by Rupa Goswami that the attachment exhibited by pure devotees for Krishna cannot possibly be perfected in the hearts of fruitive workers, that is karmis, or mental speculators, because such attachment in pure Krishna consciousness is very rare and not possible to achieve even for many liberated persons. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, liberation from material contamination is the stage at which devotional service can be achieved. For a person who simply wants to have liberation and to merge into the impersonal Brahma Jyotir, attachment to Krishna is not possible to acquire. This attachment is very confidentially kept by Krishna and is bestowed only upon pure devotees. Even ordinary devotees cannot have such pure attachment for Krishna. Therefore, how is it possible for success to be achieved by a person whose hearts are contaminated by the action and reaction of fruitive activities and who are entangled by various types of mental speculation?
Right. So now he's talking about both the karmis and the jnanis. And neither one is considered to have attachment in pure consciousness for Krishna. And saying that it's not even possible because this attachment is very rare. Remember, one of the 6 characteristics of pure devotional service was it is sudullabha. It's very rare to achieve. So that point is being repeated here. For these people who are karmis and jnanis, it's not possible. It just won't get it because Krishna actually hides it from them. Krishna doesn't want these people to get attached to him. Not that they would anyway, but he doesn't want, so he hides it. And it's mentioned here in this paragraph, 1426, Bhagavad Gita. It says, Mam cha yo avibhicharane bhakti yogena sevate, sagunan samtiti etan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. So he's saying that until we get material contamination removed from our heart, we cannot be at the Brahmabhuta platform, which is the pure platform, and then only we can start a pure devotional service. So therefore, for karmis and jnanis, it's just not possible. They got so much contamination in their consciousness, in their heart. One has contamination of the fruitive desires and attachments. Other one has the attachment to the negation or cessation of material miseries, and merging in either the body of the Lord or the Brahman effulgence. So this attachment does not happen with these two people. They cannot acquire it. And let's see. Yeah. So, and even for your everyday devotees, it's not possible. So you really have to make some progress before we do that. Even some of the devotees who are very serious about their sadhana bhakti, they may not attain this attachment because it's so hard. So a non-devotee has no hope of ever getting this. So therefore, it's a gradual process as we continue to purify our consciousness. It happens. Same as the verse in Nectar of Devotion that we read, I don't know how many months ago. We said, Sarvapadi Vinirmuktam Tatparatva Nirmalam Rishike Sevana Bhakti Uchite. The whole definition is our bhakti is that we engage in the service of the master of senses with purified senses. So we are still in the process of purifying our senses. We have a long ways to go. But that's the achievement by people on the platform of Bhava. Now, what happens is sometimes some non-devotees, they may seem to exhibit signs of ecstasy, but that's simply an external display of mundane emotions. Genuine ecstatic symptoms are the private domain of advanced devotees who have very strong and exclusive attachment for Krishna. Those emotions can never genuinely appear in people attached to self gratification or to liberation for that matter. So that is something very important to remember. Every once in a while, us aspiring devotees who are still very much on the platform of Vaidhi Bhakti, every once in a while we can feel the ecstasy. But it's a very short term, it's very fleeting, and we cannot force this to come to us. It's every once in a while it just does. And some of you may have actually felt that, shivering of the body or standing up the hair or tingling up your spine. You may have felt that, but that's very fleeting. It's called asthai bhav, which means very temporary, very, very fleeting. Okay, any questions?
Prabhu, I do have a question.
So then please ask.
So last week when you were doing the class, you said, when we do service, we need to have the desire to go to back to Godhead. So then only we'll be able to do, correct me if I'm wrong, that's what I understood last week when we were doing the class. But then now it says that, we should not have the expectations of anything when we are doing service. So not even going back to Godhead, like we do the service selflessly without even having any expectation. That's what I was a little bit confused last week, because I tend to do the service without any expectations, because if I do it with any expectations, that's my personal belief. Like if I expect to do the service with the intention of going back, then it's not selflessness, it's
Correct.
quite selfish.
So I totally agree with you. Let me explain why the confusion. So it's the intent that counts. If you want to go to Golok Vrindavan Dham because you're tired of the material world, you want to get out of here, then that is very selfish. If, however, you want to go there so you can eternally, constantly, always serve Krishna, then that is not selfish, because you want to be in a situation where you are able to always, uninterruptedly able to serve Krishna. Then therefore that is not material desire, that is not selfish desire, it's not being selfish at all. Similarly, desiring to have love of Krishna, desiring to have attachment for Krishna, that is not selfish desire. Unless your goal is to get out of the material world, then it's selfish. Unless your goal is to show the people, look at me, how great a devotee I am, I can chant 192 rounds every day, then it's selfish. So it's the intent that counts, and it's the intent that distinguishes one from the other. Okay. Does that make it clearer?
Yes, thank you, Prabhu. Totally makes sense now, because I was very much confused last week, because I was like, it's because I know I heard it from yourself about the pastime where Lord Krishna was having a headache, and then the Manjuris, the demigods, didn't want to give their dust off their feet because they will go to hell. But then the gopis were ready to do it, because they were like, they don't mind going to hell as long as God is feeling, Lord Krishna is feeling better. So I took it really personally, and I'm like, I should not expect anything, as long as I don't mind suffering in this world, as long as I'm doing my service for Lord Krishna. That's how I felt. But then
that's wonderful.
I was really confused last week, but I'm glad this cleared my confusion.
That's great. I'm sorry if I caused confusion, but that's great.
Not at all, Prabhu. It was me. It was not you. It was me, Prabhu. It's my ignorance. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else?
Oh, I have a question.
Bolo.
Prabhuji, how do we deal when people consider devotional service as karmakandi activities? Like, I mean, like, you want to correct them, but that is not your place. Like, recently it happens, like on Ekadashi, we were meeting somebody, and then this Mataji is like, oh, I do all the Ekadashi, or before coming to Canada in India, I did all my Udyapan, I did this, and Pandit ji ko jimaya, ye daan kiya, ye kiya. So I was like, yes, there is, like, she's doing it without knowing that what she's doing. So she's comparing them with that, she's still comparing them as, she'll get something net. And how to see that in a Krishna conscious way.
Sure. So, by the way, it is very common, and that people consider observing Ekadashi as one of those karmakandi activities. There are many people who do that, and they are supported by the stories that actually Lord Krishna told Maharaj Yudhishthira about the fruitive benefits of Ekadashi. So every Ekadashi has a story associated with it. Read the story, it's all karmakandi. So therefore, that adds to the confusion. So I can understand if this Mataji is feeling and believing that, hey, this is karmakandi and this, and I do all the process, and that's one way to look at it. We don't look at it. We First of all, does everybody know the story behind Ekadashi? Or anybody knows the story behind Ekadashi?
Yes, Prabhu. There are every time, whatever Ekadashi comes, like, they say Putra something and
No. I'm just asking the reason why we, the devotees, observe Ekadashi. Okay. So, Ekadashi is also known as Hari Vasa. Hari is Krishna, Vasa is the day. So, Ekadashi is considered the day of Krishna.
Krishna.
Okay, so that's one point. What happened was that there was a demon by the name of Mura. And so one time he decided to tangle with Krishna, or as we say, the material tango with Krishna. And tangoing with Krishna with a inimical mind is not good. So there was a battle. But it lasted many, many days. After that, Krishna pretended to be tired. He went into a cave and fell asleep. Mura came chasing after him. And when he saw Krishna lying on the floor sleeping, he said, "Oh, this is my opportunity to kill him." So he was getting ready to kill him, but right at that time, a female personality appeared from the heart of Krishna and killed him, killed the demon Mura. So Krishna woke up, and I mean, he knows everything, but he pretended not to know. And he asked her, "My dear Devi, who are you?" And she said, "I'm your servant, and I just killed this demon Mura." So Krishna said, "I'm very pleased by your activity, because today is the 11th day of the moon, not month, moon. And because there are two 11th days of the moon in the month, I'm going to give you the name Ekadashi. Not only that, anyone who fasts on this day, chants my name all day, serves me all day, will become very dear to me." So that is the real purpose of observing Ekadashi. It's totally, opposite of what the Karmakandis consider. So both Karmakandis and the devotees observe Ekadashi, but with totally different intent and totally different understanding of the day. So it's not that the other is wrong, it's just that theirs is not as beneficial as it is for those who consider this the day of the Lord and perform services for the Lord. You may know that if you look for initiation within ISKCON, one of the promises you make to your spiritual master is that you will chant 16 rounds every day, except on Ekadashi, when you will chant only one round. No, I'm kidding. When you chant 25 rounds. So again, the idea is to increase the chanting on that particular day. The idea is to, and the reason we fast, by the way, is not so we can have all the, Singhale ki puri and lots of mithai and lots of different sabjis and kheer and everything else. No, it is fast so you don't cook. But you don't cook not so you can gossip with somebody else, but so you can sit down and chant more, serve Krishna more. The idea is this is the day of the Lord. Use it in the service of Krishna more than other days. So that's our Ekadashi for the devotees. Now, coming to the question, Nana, you were asking, if somebody is telling you all that, and you feel like you should give them the benefit of your association and tell them, then you can tell them that, Mother, there is another point of view, and here's what the scriptures are saying. So you should know that. There's a better, higher advantage if you do it this way, or you can continue to do the way you are doing. And leave it at that. Okay? Looks like, Nana, are you there? She's on mute.
Yeah, Ji Prabhuji. Thank
Okay.
you.
So did that make sense?
Yes.
And does that answer your question?
Yes, you can gently answer. You can gently slip away your
Yeah.
undercover.
Undercover.
Undercover agent of Srila Prabhupada.
There you go. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay. Anybody else has any questions? Okay. How about next paragraph then? Who would like to read?
Can I read it, Prabhuji?
Please go ahead.
Okay. There are many so-called devotees who artificially think of Krishna's pastime known as Asta Kalka Lila. Sometimes one may artificially imitate these, pretending that Krishna is talking with him in the form of a voice, or as one may pretend that Radharani and Krishna both have come to him and are talking with him. Such characteristics are sometimes exhibited by the impersonalist class of men, and they may captivate some innocent persons who have no knowledge in the sense of devotional service. However, as soon as an experienced devotee sees all of these caricatures, he can immediately evaluate such rascaldom. If such a pretender is sometimes seen possessing imitative attachment to Krishna, and that will not be accepted as real attachment, it may be said, however, that such attachment gives the pretender hope that he may eventually rise onto the actual platform of pure devotional service.
Right. So now we're talking about the pretenders, the people who kind of like to imagine that they are who they are not. And there is a term used here, Ashtakali Leela, the second line of the paragraph. Ashtakali. Does anybody know what that means? 3 words.
Kali Mata.
Kali Mata's Leela?
Sorry?
Is Kali Mata's Leela, Mother?
Kali Mata? No, nothing.
No.
It's all Krishna. All Krishna. What does Ashta mean?
Eight.
Eight.
Leela.
What does Kali mean?
Like
काला रंग
No.
समय की
हाँ,
Kalyug
समय
Prabhu?
समय 3 घंटे का तो
Kali.
काल 3 लीला is past times. So Ashtakali means 24-hour Leela divided into 8 parts. So 3 hours each.
Okay.
So a lot of times Krishna will have a different pastime every 3 hours called Ashtakali Leela. Okay. So now some people artificially think of pastimes of Krishna 24 hours a day, or what he was doing in 24 hours a day. Sometimes they artificially imitate these leelas, pretending that Krishna is talking to them, Radha Krishna talking to them. A lot of people, I've met people who say, oh yeah, I talk to Krishna all the time. Oh yeah, Krishna came to my dream. And Prabhupada used to laugh at these people, saying, I mean, he didn't say that in so many words, but it's clear from his body language. I don't believe you for a second. Things like that. So, especially when the impersonalist people, start to talk like that, they may impress some neophytes, some naive people, some new people, but the experienced people, actually, very interesting word has been used for these kind of people. When experienced devotee meets these people, he thinks that they're all caricatures. What does caricature mean? Anybody?
like the cartoons made.
Cartoon, exactly.
Yeah.
So Prabhupada is calling these people cartoons. This is, you cannot take them seriously.
Yep.
And pure expressed devotees see right away that these guys are rascals. Can't believe what they're saying. They're pretenders,
Yep.
And therefore, basically, no value, no respect for people like that. Okay. There's a very wonderful story in Chaitanya Charitamrita where there was a crowd of people on the street where a snake was dancing to the tune of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. It was dancing very, very what's the word? Animatedly. Haridas Thakur happened to walk by and he saw the snake dancing and he heard the chanting. So he got so excited, he started dancing with the snake. And the dance was, the snake was very happy. And after a while, he stood aside to allow Haridas Thakur to continue to dance. And at the end of it, everybody, appreciated the devotion of Haridas Thakur and how even the snake understood what a great devotee Haridas Thakur was. So basically, Haridas Thakur got a lot of respect from the crowd. Well, there was a man in the crowd who saw all this. This is easy. So next day, he came back to the same place. It just so happened the snake was dancing just like the day before. So this man said, okay, today is my turn to dance with him, and then people will appreciate me. So he started dancing with the snake. As soon as he started dancing with the snake started biting him. And this man had to run away. So the point is that even the snake knew that this guy is an imitator, whereas Haridas Thakur was the genuine thing. So imitation is not good, imitators are not good, and we have to be very careful. What's going on there. Okay.
Prabhuji, how did snake know that?
The snake is dancing. I saw that.
Well, have you heard the Sarvasya Chaham Harisanivishto? That verse from Bhagavad Gita. What's the bottom line of that verse? Like, what is it really saying? Krishna is residing in the heart of every living entity as
Paramatma.
So Krishna is residing in the heart of the snake also. It is encouraging, inspiring the snake to say, bite this guy.
Yeah.
Don't bite this guy, stand aside. So it's all being controlled by Paramatma.
Yep.
Chaitanya when dance, then Sher Cheetah is dancing too.
Sorry?
चैतन्य महाप्रभु जी जब डांस करते थे जंगल में तो शेर चीते जो थे वो भी साथ डांस करते.
So when he went through Jharkhand forest, then he had all the trees and the animals all dance as he was chanting. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Any other questions on this particular point?
Just a comment. Even someone tried to copy even Krishna, right? When he did Leela.
Pondrak Krishna, yeah. Pondrak, yeah. Correct. He actually sent a note to Krishna, said, give up your Sudarshan Chakra and stop showing your third and fourth hand. They don't belong to you. Send the Sudarshan Chakra to me. This is stupid, but yeah, there are people like that. So many people, claim to be God. I remember one time, many, many years ago, with my family, we were doing Vrindavan Parikrama. So at some point in time, somebody came on a bicycle. He stopped in front of us and said, the person you have come here for is right standing in front of you. I said, yeah, sure. So, there are people like that. In Vrindavan, somebody is doing that. So, yeah, there are all sorts of people in this world. 8.2 billion people, 8.2 billion variety. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, then let's move on to the next one. I'll have to name people because there's many people silent today. Not allowed. Read.
And I will start again, Prabhuji.
No, there's so many people who have not read even once.
Read, Prabhu.
Right.
Okay, so thank you.
Yes. This imitative attachment can be divided into two headings, namely shadow attachment and para, transcendental attachment. If someone, without undergoing the regulative principles of devotional service or without being guided by a bona fide spiritual master, shows such imitative attachment, that is called shadow attachment, sometimes it is found that a person actually attached to material enjoyment or salvation has the good fortune to associate with pure devotees while they are engaged in chanting the holy name of the Lord. By the good grace of the Lord, one may also cooperate and join in the chanting. At that time, simply by the association of such pure devotees, the moon-like rays from their hearts reflect on him, and by the influence of the pure devotees, he may show some likeness of attachment caused by inquisitiveness, but this is very flickering. And if by the manifestation of such shadow attachment one feels the disappearance of all material pangs, then it is called para attachment.
Yes, thank you. So now we're not talking about the real attachment here. We're talking about the imitative attachment. And it's saying that there are two types. One is called shadow attachment or chaya. Chaya means shadow. And or para means transcendental. So it's either para attachment or shadow attachment. Para attachment, think of it as pratibim. Does anybody know what the word pratibim means?
Pratibim,
Huh?
shadow,
No. My wife
pratibim,
says, no, pratibim. My wife says reflection. And she has to be,
reflection.
yeah, reflection.
Reflection is the right word.
Yeah. So reflection. So think of para as reflection and another one is shadow. So we'll talk about that. So those people who have not performed any Vaidhi Bhakti, who have not been guided by a spiritual master, when they start to show this imitative attachment we talked about a few minutes ago, that is called chaya or shadow attachment. So that definition clear. Somebody who has not done any Vaidhi Bhakti, has not been guided by a bona fide spiritual master, if they start to show imitative attachment, it's called shadow attachment. Is that clear? Yes, no?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay.
Yes.
The next is when a person who actually at heart is attached to either material attachment, enjoyment, which means karmi, or salvation, which means gyan. But if either of these two people have the good fortune of pure devotee association, and the devotee is engaged in chanting the holy name of the Lord, and these people, if they start to cooperate with the pure devotee and join in the chanting, then it is possible that simply by the association of the pure devotee, by the influence of the pure devotee, the person may start to show some likeness of attachment. But that attachment is caused by inquisitiveness. And inquisitiveness is by nature very flickering, because as soon as the curiosity is over, the inquisitiveness is finished. So therefore, this kind of attachment is very flickering, very temporary. And if by the manifestation of this shadow attachment, one feels the disappearance of all material pangs, then it is called para attachment or reflection or reflective. Because it's called that because it's the pratibimba or reflection of the bhava of the pure devotees. It's not real bhava, but just the abhas, the shadow of the bhava of the pure devotee. Now, is that clear? Or there's a question about that? So we talked about two. One is if a person has not done any Vaidhi Bhakti, nor received instructions from a bona fide spiritual master, he's showing this attachment that's called shadow. But if somebody is showing this attachment because they are in the association of pure devotee who's chanting, then it's a reflection of their bhava if they're showing any bhava. That's called pratibimba. Is that clear?
Yep.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Okay, then we'll move on to the next paragraph. Somebody who's not read must read.
I can read, Prabhuji.
Please go ahead.
Such shadow attachment or para attachment can develop if one associates with a pure devotee or visits holy places like Vrindavan or Mathura. And if an ordinary man develops such attachment for the pure devotees, he can also rise to the platform of pure devotional service. The conclusion of this transcendental attachment is so powerful that if such attachment is seen manifested even in some common man, by the association of a pure devotee, it can bring one to the perfectional stage. But such attachment for Krishna cannot be invoked in a person without his being sufficiently blessed by the association of pure devotee.
So this is
Narad Muni.
sorry.
I was reading this and I was thinking of Narad Muni.
There you
And
go.
like Narad boy before becoming Narad.
So Narad Muni, in his association, how many people do we know of that became pure devotees? Just name a few.
Dhruv Maharaj,
Dhruva Maharaj, yes.
Prahlad Maharaj,
Prahlad Maharaj, yes.
Yes.
Huh?
Valmiki, Ved Vyas.
Nagari, yeah. Huh?
Ved Vyas.
I'm sorry.
Ved Vyas.
Ved Vyas, yes, of course, yeah.
even Sanat
Valmiki.
Kumara, 4 Kumaras.
How?
He was the one who told them, right, that and then Brahma was angry that you're taking my sons away. You're showing them the path of self-realization, isn't it?
No, I don't. At least I don't know that. I know he did that with the sons of Daksha. He did that with Prachatas also. But I don't know about Kumaras.
Maybe
I
I'm
think
wrong.
Kumaras became pure devotees after they went to Vaikuntha and got the darshan of Lord Narayan and they smelled the tulsi off of his lotus feet. That's how I understood.
It could be, Prabhu. You're right.
Okay. Anyway, so that's very good examples of somebody becoming or coming to the platform of pure devotional service simply by the association of the pure devotees. This paragraph basically is talking about the power of the blessings and the association of the pure devotees.
Prabhuji, even Valmiki and Mrigari, right?
Yeah, that's what I said. Valmiki and Mrigari, yeah. Okay, any questions on this? Okay, then let's move to the next paragraph.
I can read, Prabhuji.
Please do.
And as attachment can be invoked by association of pure devotees, so attachment can also be extinguished by offenses committed at the lotus feet of pure devotees. To be more clear, by the association of pure devotees, attachment for Krishna can be aroused. But if one commits offenses at the lotus feet of a devotee, one's shadow attachment or para attachment can be extinguished. This extinguishing is like the waning of the full moon, which gradually decreases and at last becomes dark. One should therefore be very careful while associating with the pure devotees to guard against committing an offense at their lotus feet. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you. So association of the pure devotees is like a two-edged sword. I think that's the correct expression, right? Two-edged sword. Yeah, or double-edged. Sorry, yeah, it's like a double-edged sword. You can get benefit, and you can also be cut very badly. If you serve them nicely, you get a lot of benefit. If you offend them, whatever devotion you had developed, whatever attachment you had developed, basically goes away. It may not go away immediately, and that's why the example of the waning of the full moon is being given, because full moon in Krishna Paksh slowly decreases in size until Amavasya comes and it's gone. Similarly, we don't lose our devotional service the day after we offend a pure devotee. It takes some time, but eventually it does go away. Prabhupada used to give example of a table fan or a fan. Turn it off, power off, but it takes a little time before the blades stop completely. So same thing here. It may not happen overnight, it may not happen the next day, but it will happen after some time. So therefore, you have to be very careful in the association of pure devotees to not offend them, and our attitude should always be Mahat Seva Ahurdvaram Vimuktam. Continuously serve them for their pleasure. That's our relationship with our spiritual master. That should be the relationship with our senior devotees. In Nectar instruction also, it talks about how we should deal with our senior devotees, which is serve them. Okay, that's Nectar instruction, verse 5. Any questions or comments? Okay, then let's move to the next paragraph. Anybody? Go ahead, please.
Transcendental attachment, either shadow or para, can be nullified by different degrees of offenses at the lotus feet of pure devotees. If the offense is very serious, then one's attachment becomes almost nil. And if the offense is not very serious, one's attachment can become second class or third class.
Right. So, I mean, basically the point is being made is it's not binary. It's not 1 or 0. So it depends upon the seriousness of the offense, and also depends upon the purity of the devotee that we have offended. So it's not a binary thing. Okay. Next paragraph, please.
If someone becomes attached to the principles of salvation or to merging into the existence of Brahma Jyotir, his ecstasies gradually diminish into shadow and para attachment, or else transform into the principles of ahangraho pasana. This ahangraho pasana describes a living entity when he begins spiritual realization by identifying himself with the Supreme Lord. This state of self-realization is technically known as monism. The monist thinks himself one with the Supreme Lord. Thus, because he does not differentiate between himself and the Supreme Lord, it is his view that by worshipping himself, he is worshipping the Supreme Whole.
Like, all we can do is laugh at this, right? So let's worship ourselves the same as worshiping the Lord. How convenient.
Too bad.
I know. Yeah, very convenient. That's a great way to satisfy your senses, because, oh no, I'm not satisfying mine. I'm the Lord, therefore I'm satisfying the Lord's senses. All the scriptures talk about that, so let's go ahead and do it. Well, as they say, nah, doesn't work. Okay, all right. Unless there are any questions or comments on this paragraph, we can move to the next one. Who would like to do the honor? Somebody who's not done it yet? Anybody who's not read it yet today?
Everyone read.
No, that's not true. I'm just being polite and not taking their names.
Okay, me.
Okay, Mataji, go ahead, please.
Sometimes it's found that a neophyte is taking part in chanting and dancing very enthusiastically. But within himself, he is under the impression that he has become one with the Supreme Whole. This conception of monism is completely different from pure transcendental devotional service. If, however, it is seen that a person has developed a high standard of devotion without having undergone even the regulative principles, it is to be understood that his status of devotional service was achieved in a former life. For some reason or another, it had been temporarily stopped, most probably by an offense committed at the lotus feet of a devotee. Now, with a good second chance, it has again begun to develop. The conclusion is that steady progress in devotional service can be attained only in the association of pure devotees.
Yeah. So, big point is being made here is that if somebody leaves their body before achieving perfection in devotional service, then what happens? It gets lost completely as like the bank balance?
It continues, it carries forwards.
Continues. What is the verse in Bhagavad Gita that talks about that?
Something Srimant.
No. Neha Vikram Nashosti,
Yeah.
Prithivayo na vidyate.
Shivayo na vidyate,
Right?
swalpam apyasya dharmasya, trayate mahatu vayate.
Right. So that's, I think it's 240.
It's
And,
240.
Krishna is saying, this is eternal. Devotion is never lost. And then the 6th chapter, Arjuna asks again, what happens to the people who leave their body before achieving perfection? So 641, 642 talk about that. 641 says, Prapya punyakratam lokan, shitta shasati sama, shuchi nam shimatam gehe, yog bhrashto abhijayate. So the person like that goes to the heavenly kingdom, enjoys life, comes back in the house of a aristocratic person or a devotee or a shuchi, pure person, and then has the option to take up from the point he left. But if devotee has been a long-time devotee, then 642 applies, which says, Atva yogi namev kule bhavati dhimata. Tadi durlabtam loke jan yad idishwar. Saying, then that person takes birth in the house of a devotee, where he automatically, out of the 643 explains, automatically by habit, he takes up devotional service. He shows attachment to devotional service. He shows attachment to Krishna, on and on and on, automatically. So it's being described here that if you see somebody in our temple who's making very fast progress, we should know that this person is bringing his bhakti from a previous life. Okay. So that's one point. Second point is that the steady progress in devotional service can be attained only in the association of pure devotees. So some other verses come to mind. Ado Shraddha Tato Sadhu Sangha. So again, the whole thing starts with Sadhu Sangha, after Bhajan Kriya. So when he does the Bhajan Kriya, the association of Sadhu, then the progress happens. Another verse from 5th canto is Mat Seva Dwarum Ahar Vimukte. If you want to get out of this material world, the only way is to serve the pure devotees. That opens the door of liberation for us. We know the story, we talked about the story of Mrigari the hunter, talked about Prahlad Maharaj, who got the association of a pure devotee by the name of Narad Muni, and we all know, like they say, rest is history, so we all know what happened. But that's the point. The steady progress in devotional service can be attained only in the association of what? Karmis,
Pure
right?
devotee.
Pure
Devotee.
devotees. Yeah. Any questions or comments on that one? Okay, next paragraph, please.
I can read, Prabhuji.
Please do.
If one can gradually advance his status in devotional service, this is understood to be due to the causeless mercy of Krishna himself. If a person is completely detached from material enjoyment and has developed pure ecstatic devotion, even if he is sometimes accidentally found not living up to the standard of devotional service, one should not be envious of him. It is confirmed also in Bhagavad Gita that a devotee who has unflinching faith in and devotion to the Lord, even if sometimes found to be accidentally deviated from pure devotional characteristics, should still be counted among the pure. Unflinching faith in devotional service in Lord Krishna and in the spiritual master makes one highly elevated in the activities of devotional service.
Right. So which verse in Gita does it remind you of? Anybody? "930 Apichet Suduracharo." Is that a familiar verse? Anyway, so
सुदुराचार भजते वम अभी नन्या भाव साधु है मनवत्या समेक व्यवस्था ये चा.
Right, exactly. So if accidentally a pure devotee or advanced devotee falls down, we should not make fun of him, because samyak, again that word samyak comes here. We have Satoisa. He's constantly and completely engaged in the service of Krishna. His unflinching faith in Krishna. So don't criticize, don't be envious of a person who has accidentally fallen down. Okay. And the other point made in this paragraph is that one way we talked about was that progress in devotional service made in the association of pure devotees, and the other way is to have the causeless mercy of Krishna. So those are two ways: mercy of Krishna, mercy of the pure devotees. Okay. Any questions or comments on this paragraph? Okay. The next paragraph, somebody please.
I will read it.
Please go ahead.
In the Narshan Prana, it is stated, if a person has completely engaged his mind, body, and activities in the service of the Supreme Godhead, but externally he is found to be engaged in some abominable activities. These abominable activities will surely be very quickly vanquished by the influence of his staunch devotional source. The example is given that on the full moon there are some spots which may appear to be pockmarks. Still, the illumination spread by the full moon cannot be checked. Similarly, a little fault in the midst of volumes of devotional service is not at all to be counted as a fault. Attachment for Krishna is transcendental bliss. Amid unlimited volumes of transcendental bliss, a spot of some material defect cannot act in any way. Very good.
Very well. Thank you. I'm reading this paragraph and I'm thinking, how often have we criticized a senior devotee for behaving in what we consider to be a non-devotee behavior? And this paragraph saying, even if we witness a fault in a senior devotee who's otherwise performing great devotional service, we should not consider that a fault. We should definitely not criticize that person. We know that criticism of devotee is not appreciated by Krishna. It becomes a Vaishnava aparad, and we suffer for it. And we also read today that if we do that, our bhakti will disappear. Maybe not right away, but sooner or later it will disappear. So we have to be very careful. Also, this paragraph is telling us that even if an advanced devotee is doing something which you would call a fault, that fault will eventually go away. Actually, very quickly it says, it will go away because of his strong sadhanas, because of strong devotional service. So we have to always remember that. Criticizing, finding faults is never helpful in advancing in devotional service. So we have to be very cautious of that, very conscious of that, very cognizant of that. That finding fault is in no way helpful in advancing on the path of devotional service. Even if it is genuine, if it's not, it's none of our business. Nobody died and made us the judge. So let's look at ourselves, look inwards, try to see what faults we have. What can we do to improve on our own faults rather than worry about the faults of other people?
Yeah.
The problem is that it's fun to point out somebody else's fault. It's fun to talk about somebody else's faults. It's fun to basically make fun of people or criticize people, and we really enjoy doing that. But we should remember, when we criticize a fault in somebody, that same fault is downloaded in our own consciousness. And very soon we will have that fault. So we are basically bringing it on upon ourselves when we criticize a devotee for their faults. Always let's remember that. So let's pray. Krishna will keep us away from the tendency to find faults, the tendency to criticize people, the tendency to talk about other people. It's all prajalpa. It's very harmful for us. There's no benefit for us in it. Only benefit is to the telephone companies with billions of dollars by people talking about other people on the telephone. So let's not make the telephone company rich. Let's ourselves become rich in our devotional service. Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Thanks for the good advice, Prabhuji.
Thank you, bro. You're already on that level. You never criticize anybody. I've never heard you criticize anybody.
I try not to, Prabhuji.
Yeah, no, Prabhu, I'm telling you, I've noticed that. I have never heard you criticize anybody.
Thank you.
Any comments, questions from anybody else?
I had a realization, Prabhuji.
Go
I
ahead.
was thinking, what took it so long to start Krishna consciousness? It could be the Vaishnava Prad in previous life. That, it was dormanted, things did not wake up, did not make sense, even though you were in the family, people were doing everything like this. Maybe we have committed so many Vaishnava Prads, still doing it. May Krishna give everybody a little bit more, buddhi, so we move up from whatever platform we are
Yes,
at presently.
that's a nice prayer. That's a nice attitude. We should all pray to keep us away from Prajalpa. In Nectar of Instruction, verse number 2 talks about the 6 things that destroy our devotional service. It says, Atyahara prayasascha prajalpa niyamagra. Prajalpa. Prajalpa is the tendency to talk about any topic other than Krishna. So we talk about other people, we talk about politics, we talk about what's happening in the society. That's all prajalpa. It does us no good, simply destroys our devotional service. So let's all remember this all the time. A lot of times we do ourselves good by going to the temple, but we negate all that good by talking about other people. So yeah, that consciousness is very good to have. Anybody else, any comments or questions? Okay. In that case, we shall say Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripasindhibhya evcha bhavnebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo
Namo
namo.
Namo.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Pikashri.
Haribol, you were very quiet today.
Prabhuji, I am not home. I am at the temple.
Oh, okay, I understand. Yes.
Achhi baat.
Yes. Okay, thank you then. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Hare Krishna.